you are doing good. Today I'm going to continue the same module, that is the quality systems in IT, in the same chapter, that is chapter number 4. In the last class we have discussed some topics related to the document. So let's begin with the previous class session. So with the last class we have started with this diagram, that is what is the document and how we have there are multiple categories of document that is used, that is the control and the uncontrolled document. And controlled document contains the policies and uncontrolled contains the memorandum. So these are the various documents that we have discussed. So what are the various document categories that is discussed in this one, or we can say what are the various categories of the document that is discussed. So that is a part of the controlled document as well as the uncontrolled document. And the controlled document includes the policies and the practices, and uncontrolled document includes the letters, notebooks, diaries, calendars. That is the uncontrolled document. So there is a controlled document, there is an uncontrolled document for this one, and the policies and the practices that is available for this. That is a reference document. So that is used for the reference document. That is the policies and the procedure. That is used for the reference document. So there is a controlled document, there is an uncontrolled document, and the controlled document is controlled by the organization. So control document is controlled by the is that we can use the controlled document as well as the uncontrolled document for the various references, for the various reasons why we are using the controlled document, why we are using the uncontrolled documents. So there is a controlled document, uncontrolled. There are multiple parts of the controlled document that includes the policies, practices, derived statement, reference document, etc. And there is a derived documents are those that are derived by executing the processes. Then we have discussed that why it is necessary to the derived document. So this is necessary for the process approach principle. So whenever we are using, or whenever we are going to use the process approach principle, we are using the document, we are using the types of the document, that is the controlled document and the uncontrolled document. And the degree of the documentations varies from a single or the simple statement of facts to detail, that is how a specific activities is to be carried out. That is how a specific activities is going to be carried out, and to the document everything you will be impractical to of the little value. So what are the various little value that is impractical on this one? That is the process approach principle. That is one of the principle that is used in the document analysis. And how it is implemented? By using the various policies, by documenting the quality management principle, by using the policies, practices that is used for the various documents. And these are the various policies that is available. There may be a corporate policy, there may be operational policies, there may be a control procedure. So corporate policies defines the overall intentions of the organization regarding its purpose and mission. That is a corporate policy. So what are the various or it defines the overall intention of the organization, that is what are the various organizations, or what is the main intention of the organizations to deliver, what are the various categories that is relating to the purpose and the mission. Then operational policies that defines the strategy and the boundary condition for business and the work processes. That means what is the strategy and what are the various boundary conditions for the business and the work processes. Then the control procedures that defines the actions and decisions that is required to control the flow. That is required to control the flow. That is how the data will be maintained, or how the flow will be maintained for the various policies. And they invoke the standards, guides, and operating procedures. So what are the various operating procedures? What are the various guidelines that is available for this one? That is covered under the policies. And there are guides also, there are operating procedures also that is used to specify how a particular test will be used, how we are going to use the guides, operating procedures, standards, and the reference documents. And there are different kinds of policies that is available. There may be government policy, corporate policy, that includes the environmental policy, safety policy, personal policy that will be used. And there is an operation policy that will be done, that is used to apply on the organization. So that will be applied to the various operations of the business. So what are the various operations that will be carried out on the business? So there is operational policy, there is a carried out policy that will be used in operating the business. And there is a document policy that is used how the documents will be maintained or how the components and the services are needed. That is a procurement policy, or that is covered under the procurement policy. And there is a product policy, inventory policy, production policy, servicing policy. That is how the organization will serve or will service the products to its customers that have purchased. So whatever the customers have purchased, that is done by using the corporate policy, that is covered under the servicing policy. That is how we are providing the service, that is servicing policy, that is used by the organization. That is how the organization will service the products to its customer that have purchased. There may be a department policy, there may be an industry policy that is applied to a particular industry, such as the course of a practice by the trade or association for a certain trade. And all policies set boundary conditions so that actions and decisions are challenged along a particular path to fulfill a purpose or achieve a objective. So whatever the objective, whatever the target that is achieved by setting the policy. So there may be an industry policy, there may be a department policy, there may be a service policy. There are different kinds of policies that is serviced or that is used by the organization that is covered under the document analysis, right? So these policies set the boundary conditions so that the actions and the decisions are channeled along a particular path to fulfill a particular purpose. So if the organization has a main objective to fulfill the documents, to maintain the document policies procedure, that is maintained by using the department policy, inventory policy, production policy, as well as the product policy. And there are many reasons why we are documenting the operation policy. That contains a control policy, corporate policy that needs to be translated into the practical terms that can be implemented through the procedure. So whatever the procedure that will be carried out, so there will be a practical term that can be implemented through the procedures, and every job has constraints that is surrounding using them. Without written procedures, people would be left to discover them by the trial. So whatever trial method, whatever the error method that is used for the organization, that will become a disorganized mess that is used with the lacking the means to direct and harmonize the staff activities. That means every job has some constraints, that is every job has some value that is used with the constraint that is used to lead the procedures. And policies enables the manager and their workforce to be left in no doubt about what they are actually responsible for, the boundaries within which they need to work. So what are the various boundaries, or what is the main boundary that is need to work? That is a workforce that is to be left in no doubt about what we are actually done for the boundaries. And policies set clear boundaries for people jobs so that everyone knows in advance what they are going to expect and when while making the decision. That is what they are going to expect while making the decisions or while going to make the decision that is used in the policy methods. Now, next is the process description, that is how the process will be described. That is the process description that is necessary in ensuring the effective operation. So if I'm going to ensure that the operation will be very effective, and the control of the processes, because they contain or reference everything that needs to be known about the process, that is the process description, that are necessary in ensuring the effective operation, control of the processes, because they contain or reference everything that needs to be known about the process. That is, what is the process, how the process will be used, and when to use the process, that is the process description. So process description may be maintained as discrete document or the combined into a manual, that is a process description, that includes the process objectives, that is what is the main objective of using the process owner, then process inputs in terms of the material and the information to be processed. So one is the objective, what is the main objective of using the process, then process owner, then there is a process input. So these are the three categories that will be included, these are the various description that will be included in the process description. So process objective, process owner, process input, process output. Set up and shut down the condition, that is what are the various conditions for the setting up and the shutdown. Then process flowchart, that is how the flowchart will be maintained to explain the decisions, to show the decisions in the flowcharts. Then resources, that includes the physical and the human resources. Then dependencies, then key performance indicators. These are the various, we can say, the process descriptions that would include, that is the process objective, owner, input, output, setup and the shutdown conditions, process flowcharts, resources, dependencies, key performance indicators, performance measurement methods, preventive measures. These are the various key factors, these are the various points that will be covered in the process description. Clearly, this description goes well beyond the content of a procedure. It also goes well beyond the flow chart. And flowchart depicts the steps in a process but do not fully describe a process. So that does not fully describe a process but depicts the process in a depict the steps in a process that is done by the flowcharts. And now next is the procedure. So we have done with the policies. We have now next is the procedure that are necessary in ensuring the effective operation. That is very necessary in effective operation. That is what is the main operation that is carried out. That the operation will be very effective and the control of the processes because they lay out their steps to be taken in setting up, operating, and shutting down the process. That means what are the procedures that will be followed for the effective operation, for the effective controlling, because they lay out the steps. That means what are the various steps that is used for the procedure that will be taken up in setting up, operating, and shutting down the processes. That is the procedure. And procedure is a sequence of the steps to execute a routine task. That is, what are the various steps that to be followed to execute a particular task. That is a procedure. And in simple terms, what we are going to produce, or what are the various ways by which we are going to produce the output. That is the procedure. And procedures can only work, however, where judgment is no longer required or necessary. That is the procedures. And there are various types of document practices that is also used. That is, what are the various procedures that will be followed. So first is the divisional procedure that apply to more than one division of a company and regulate the common activity. That is a divisional procedure that apply to more than one division of a company. Then control procedures, then control the works on the product as it passes between the departments or the processes. So what are the various departments that is fulfilled or that is used between the departments or the processes. That is the control procedures. So one is the divisional processes or divisional procedure, then control procedure that control the works on the product as it passes between the departments or the processes. Then operating procedures that prescribe how specific tasks are to be performed. That is how the specific tasks are to be performed. That is how the operation will be carried out. That is the operating procedure. So one is the control procedure, divisional procedure, and the operating procedures. That should include the test procedures, instruction procedure, installation procedures, etc. And these should reference the standards and the guides which are needed to carry out the task, document the result, and contains the forms to be based on information to be recorded. That is, what are the various information that is to be recorded. That is the divisional procedure, control procedure, and the operating procedures. Now, we have done with the policies, we have done with the procedure. Now the next part is the standards. So the standards are essential in ensuring the effective operation and control of the processes. So procedure means what are the various guidelines or what are the various steps that will be followed to apply the policy. Now standards means that is used to ensure the effective operation. So it is used to ensure whether the effective operation is carried out or not, and also control of the processes because they define the criteria required to judge the acceptability. So what are the various criteria that is required to judge the capability, to judge the acceptability of the process capability and the product quality, but whether it is applicable or whether it is accepted in the process capability and the product quality. That is a standard. Now standards define the acceptance criteria for judging the quality of an activity. That is how we can judge the activities, how we can make the activities. That is for judging the quality of an activity. That is the standards. So that defines the acceptance criteria for judging the quality of an activity, document, product, or service. That is the standard. And there are national standards, international standards, standard for a particular industry, company standards. These are the various standards that will be defined for the effective operation and the control. And standards may be in the diagrammatically form or the narrative form or a mixture of the two. So the standards may be represented in the diagrammatically form. So we can represent the standards by using the diagrams or by using the speeches, by using the English statement, that is a narrative form, or either we can use the diagrams as well as the speech form, that is a combination of the two, that is a narrative form as well as a diagrammatic form. And standards needs to be referenced in control procedures or the operating procedures. So standards are also used in the two types of procedure, that is the control procedure or the operating procedures. In the process context, standards are essential for defining the acceptance criteria for a capable process. That is, what are the various capable process that is used for the process control for the process context. Now, next is the guides that are necessary in ensuring the effective operation and control of the process. So this is also ensure the effective operation, that is how the effective operation will be carried out, and how to control the processes, that is the guides, because they provide the information of use during preparation. So that they provide the information of use, that is how to use the information during the preparation, operation, shutdown and troubleshooting. So how they provide information of use during the preparation, during the operation, during the shutdown and during the troubleshooting, that is the guide. So guides are aids to the decision making. So whenever we are using the guide, that are aids to the decision making, that are guide to the decision making and to the conduct of the activity, that is a guide, and they are useful as a means of documenting your experience. So how to document your experience, that is a guide, and should contain examples, illustrations, hints and tips to help staff perform their work as well as possible. That is how the staff will perform their work, that is guides. That means I am guiding you, that is how to work the activities. Next is the reports that are useful in ensuring the effective operation and the control of the processes. That is, what are the various reports that should be generated for the various processes. That is a report. Then records that are ensuring the, that are also ensuring the effective operation and the control of the processes, because they capture the factual information, what are the various factual performances from which the decisions on the processes performance can be made. That is the records, and records are defined in ISO as documents stating the results achieved. So what are the various results that is achieved, or providing the evidence of the activities performed. That is, what are the various activities that is performed, that is a record, and the document that is achieved, that is also the record. So what are the documents, what are the various evidence of the activity that is presented, that is known as the record. So records are therefore produced during an event or immediately afterwards. Then there are instructions that are used for the controlling of the processes, because they can the process to be initiated and define the variable, that is the instructions. Then internal references that are the document that are useful in ensuring the effective operation. That is, what is the effective operations, or what are the various effective operations that will be carried out in the control of the processes, because they will contain data relevant to the equipment, people, facilities or other factors upon which setup or operation of the process depends. What are the various factors that will be depending on the document, that are the internal reference document that are useful in ensuring the effective operation control of processes, because they will ensure, they will contain the data that is relevant to the equipment, people, facilities or other factors, that is the internal references that will set up operations of the process depends. Now, relative or the reference document differ from other type of document, because they should be neither prospective nor instructional. An example of the internal reference documents are, what are the various examples of the internal reference document, that is organization chart, then telephone directory, then shift roster, then equipment list and the staff list. So these are the various internal reference document that is used. So these are various examples of the internal reference document basically. And next is external reference document, that are those not used by the organization but used by the organization. The national and the international standard, like ISO is one of the international standard. Then public data that is used for the effective planning, operation and control of the processes. Then what are the various customer data, supplier data, industry data. Now, what should be documented? That is the next question. That is, what should be documented in the processes. Now the next part is, what should be documented, that is what is the part that should be documented. So the standard requires the extent of the quality management system documentation is to be dependent on the size and the type of the organization, that is how they are dependent on the size, and what are the various requirements that is used on depending on the size and the type of the organization that is requiring. So that is depend on the size and type of the organization, then complexity of the processes and the competency of the persona, that is how the complexity will be maintained, or how complex it is used for the resource management, for dependent on the size and the type of the organization, complexity of the processes, and the competency of the persona. That means what should be documented, that is the extent of the quality management system documentation. That is also a part of the documentation part, that should depend on the size and the type of the organization. And clause 4.9 of ISO requires the procedure that will be used by absence of these procedures, such procedures that would adversely affect the quality. And this phrase now omitted from the 2000 versions, that used to be taken out of the context and used as a valid reason for not documented aspects of the document or management system. That is, they are not documented the management system. So what are the various aspects that is carried out for the management system? So the requirement only apply to the procedures, but could just as easily have applied to other type of documentation. That means what are the various types of the documentation that will be required for the documenting part, that will be applied to the documentation part. And the factors that is mentioned in the standard apply equally to the documentation that is generated by a process and documentation supporting the process. So what are the various methods that is used for supporting the processes? For example, a person may need the documentation part or documented policies and the procedure that is used to execute the processes, that is, or reliable processes, reliable document, or what are the various steps that is used for the reliable document. So they vary in the size, complexity to extend the supporting documentation. It also depends on the size of the organization. If there is a small organization, so that requires minimum at least 2 documents that will be used. The size of the organization is one of the factors that is used in the documentation part. Then type of organization is one of the factors. Then complexity of the processes, that is how we can reduce the complexity by assigning the various procedure, by assigning the various standard that will be used for the interconnection in the organization. That is the complexity of the processes. Then there is a competence, that is ability to demonstrate the skills, behavior, attributes. So how we are going to demonstrate the skills, behavior, and the attribute of the qualification to the level that is required for the job. So what is the level that is used for the skills, behaviors, attributes? And pen drive. And when personas are new to a job, that they need the education and the training. So when the staff are new to a job, they need the education and the training for the documentation part, that is how to create the documents and how to rely on the document that is reliable than the human memory, because everything is available in the record, so that is more reliable as compared to the human memory. Because time to time our memory goes into the vanish, goes to the low, so we have to remember we don't have to remember the things. So it's well and good to maintain the records. It is more reliable than the human memory. Now what are the factors that is affecting the amount of information you document? That is, what are the various information that is supporting document, that are the that is used for the amount of the information you document. So there has to be a limit on what you document. That means what are the various limits by which we can document the methods, that is the amount of the information, and a balance should be attained between the training and the procedures. And ISO 9001:1994 requires a quality manual to cover the requirements of the standard. That is how to or what are the various standards, what are the various requirements of the standards that is removed or that has been removed. That is ISO 9001:1994. There is therefore no requirement to respond to the requirement of the standards in the order in which they are stated, either in a quality manual or in a documented procedure. That is how they are using the quality manual or how they are using the documented procedure. That is the ISO 9001:1994. And you can combine the several procedures in one document. That is, we can combine the multiple documents in one document, multiple procedures in one document. That depends on the complexity of the business. And reasons for not documenting the information. So what are the various reasons that is not used or that is used for not documenting the information? So why we are not documenting the information? So if the course of action or the sequence of the steps cannot be predicted, a procedure or the plan cannot be written for the unforeseen events. And if there is no effect on performance by allowing the freedom of actions or decisions, there is no mandatory to prescribe the method to be employed. So what are the various methods that it should be employed? That is also one of the reasons for not documenting the information. And if I cannot be foreseen that any person might need to take actions or make a decision using the information from a process, there is no mandate to require that the result should be maintained. The result should be maintained over the term. That is reason for not documenting the information. Now, how to implement a quality management system? That is the last part. That is how to implement the quality management system with the requirements of the ISO 9001 standards. So what are the various requirements? What are the various standards that will be applicable for this one? So that will be occupied or that will be used with the documentary parts. So what does this mean? So the notion of implementing a management system seems to imply that the management system is a set of the rules, procedures, or a plan. So what are the various tools? What are the various procedures that will be followed for the plan? And one implements procedure, but the management system is far more than a collection of the procedures. So that means that it should be used in accordance with the ISO 9001 standard. That is how we are implementing the quality management system. And also the standards requires a management system to be established. So how to establish the standard system? That is stated previously, to establish a management system, you need to design and construct it and integrate into the organization. That is how to construct it, how to integrate into the organization. That is also one of the main aim of implementing the quality management system. And by implementing the quality management system, that leads to the leadership principle. So there's a leadership principle that is also one of the main requirement of the quality management system. Now how it is implemented, there is no magic in meeting the requirement. You simply need to have said, or you simply need to go to your promises, honor your commitment, adhere to the policies, meet the objectives, follow the procedure. That is how to follow the procedure. Next is managing the processes. To manage the identified processes in accordance with the ISO 9001. That is managing the process input, work, physical resources, financial resources, human resources, constraints, output. That leads to the process approach principle, that is managing the input, managing the work, managing the physical activity, the same. That is how to manage the physical activity by carrying out the labor, by carrying out the worker, so that the worker can pull out the work, worker can deliver the product, that is deliver the desired result, that is control in one or the another way to the desired input. So managing the financial resources, then managing the human resources, that is how the human resources will be managed, that will be needed by the planned, organized and controlled in a way that enables the process to deliver the desired product. That is managing the human resources. Then managing the constraint, that is how to manage the constraint. So what are the various constraints, what are the various effects, what are the various forces that prevents, restrict, limit or regulate a process. That is managing the constraint. So verify the performance measures, that will be meaningful data upon which to judge the process performances. So how to judge the process performances, that is to verify the performance measures. Then determine the inherent characteristics upon which the performance measure depends, that is throughput. Then managing the outputs. Then ensuring the information availability, that is how the information will be available. That includes the process input, process of planning activities, preparatory activities, result producing activities, routine activities, and the process outputs. And there are three activities, that is going out, that is operation condition, verification activities, diagnostic activities. Then ensuring the availability of the resources, that is how to ensure the availability of the resources, whether resources are available or not. So ensuring the availability of the resources, so that is used to ensure the availability of the resources that is necessary to support the operation and the monitoring of the identifying processes. That is what are the various standards that is used to support the operation and the monitoring of the identifying processes, that is ensure the availability. So that should be needed to ensure the or to support the operation of the processes. That would include for the process, that includes the raw material and the consumable, then personal, then utilities such as the heat, light, power, water, then time, then equipment, plant, machinery, facilities, workspace, then money to find the or fund the need of the processes. That is how to fund the need of the processes. What are the various processes that is carried out that is necessary to monitor the processes that will include the instrumentation, equipment, verification, model that will lead to the leadership principle. Now next is how to measure, monitor and analyze the processes. That should include the monitoring, measuring and analyze and identifying processes so that to ensure the identifying processes will be carried out in a greater impact. That is measuring, monitoring the activities that should lead to the factual approach principle. The process control, output control, how it is implemented by using the process measurement, process monitoring, process analysis. So measurement, monitoring, process analysis, then analysis in the process design, then process operation, and then how to maintain a quality management system that will be used in accordance with the requirement of the ISO 9001 standards. Now, why is this necessary? That is necessary for the process approach principle. How it is implemented by reducing the variations by the physical resources operational, then human resource competent, then financial resources available for the replenishment of the consumables, replace the inventory or the obsolete the equipment. Then continual improvement in the quality system and the processes. That is, there is a continuous improvement in the quality processes in the quality terms that will be used. There are multiple steps to undertaking the quality or continual improvement. What are the various steps that will be used? Determine the current performances, then establish the need for a change, then obtain the commitment and define the improvement objectives, then organize the diagnostic resources. Then next is preparing the quality manual. That is how to prepare the quality manual, why it is required for the system approach principle. Then how it is implemented, by it is implemented to see the difficulties, leakages that is available for the more difficult manual. And the requirement provides the framework for the manual. Its contents may therefore includes the following, that is the introduction, what is the main purpose, scope, applicability, definitions. Then scope of the quality management system, how it is implemented. Then reference procedures in the quality manual, that is what are the various reference manual that is used in the quality management, how it is implemented. Then describing the processes, what are the various processes and how their interaction will be carried out, that is to include a description of the interaction that is used between the processes of the quality management system, that is how we are going to improve the quality management system. What are the various processes, how to interact between the processes of the quality management system. And why it is necessary? It is necessary for the system approach principle. The next is control of the document, that is how the controlling will be done for the, what are the various documents that is required for the controlling, why it is necessary for the process approach principle, how by loading the various server, secure server that will be carried out, then document control principles, why it is implemented, what are the various steps, then document approval, that is we have discussed already, that is what are the various document approval stages. So this is we have discussed in the last class, that in the yesterday's class also. So let's stop over here only for today's session, and in the next session, that is in the tomorrow session, I am going to continue with this module, that is the quality systems in IT. So let's finish our this class in this topic only. So that's all for today's session.